We are live.
We are live.
Hi guys,
Live.
happy Friday.
Happy Friday!
You don't have coffee today?
Leave it to Marcin to get the party started, right?
No more coffee for this one.
Oh,
Go
no.
Cubbies!
Red Bulls to go.
That's right. We are with Pete Gray today. He's going to be our guest, and we're going to talk a little bit
How's
about
everybody?
who are you with?
HomePoint Financial.
HomePoint Financial. Today we are talking about
HOAs!
that house on the corner.
It's got HOAs.
It might have HOAs.
You might get a case of the spuds. HOAs
What
are
HOAs?
HOAs.
HOA.
Which
homeowners.
means... Yeah, go ahead.
Home. What is an HOA?
It's a homeowner association.
Exactly. And why do people have homeowners associations? And why are they so popular here in Arizona, especially in the Phoenix area? It's really hard to find properties anymore that aren't HOA unless they're horse property or they're older developments and they didn't have HOAs at the time.
Yeah, they're very popular, and they, you know, the whole idea behind them too is the conformity of
Yes.
the properties and the subdivisions to all look similar to each other, give a sense of community
Yeah.
to one another.
So let's
and-
go over some pros and cons because
Right.
and then he's going to touch on a couple of cons that have to do with getting the financing for a house that has HOA. So
Right.
let's talk about some of the pros real quick. I mean, what are the pros? What do most people like? They like the fact that people can't like let their house like go ghetto, right?
Yeah, so
You know?
say everybody kind of has a different, like a set standard,
Set standard. Too much coffee.
of, yeah, I had a lot of coffee. Of paint on the house. So, they won't let you just paint one house pink.
Right.
And then everybody else looks the same. It's just,
Yeah, so it's
it's
conformity.
an eyesore.
Yeah,
It's an eyesore.
Yeah, it's conforming. They have rules and regulations so that the
Yeah.
properties look nice, the neighborhoods look nice, the
Right.
grass is cut, the weeds don't go crazy. You don't have broken down cars parked out in the front yard. Like Billy Bob.
There's restrictions.
I
You
hope
can't
I don't
have
any
Joe
friends
the
named Billy
plumber.
Bob.
You can't have the plumbing trucks
Right.
sitting in the driveway, all of that stuff that just, it doesn't give you that peacefulness that some
Exactly.
people kind of look for.
Yeah, exactly.
know?
I have an HOA. Do you have an HOA?
No,
You don't?
I don't.
You're not with Tukey, so you're
Yeah,
probably in a little bit of an
but
older
we have
neighborhood.
only like a little strip.
Oh, okay. Do you have an HOA?
I do. I'm in Gilbert, and I do have an HOA.
Do you like your HOA?
I do. It protects the property values. It does keep, I don't use the term riffraff necessarily, but it does keep the place just looking a little cleaner, a little nicer.
It does.
There is more of a sense of community with, you have your community board meetings for your HOA to make sure budgets and stuff are intact.
Right.
So yeah, it's an opportunity to bring the neighborhood together.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for people to get to know one another and, just create some togetherness for the
Yeah.
whole community.
Absolutely. And so when those fees, let's talk a little bit about fees though.
Yes.
Because that could really impact your ability to qualify. So I'm going to let you
Right.
kind of take over that conversation.
HOA fees, obviously they serve a purpose. They fund the community or the association so that, like you mentioned earlier, the grass is mowed in the common green belts, things like that.
Right.
Maintain the entrances.
Or if there's a community pool
community
or
pool.
community center or whatever.
Also fund community events. I know a lot of HOAs will put on, holiday events for the neighborhood or community, so
Right.
it funds those. But a lot of people don't want to take into consideration is the HOA and how it impacts the buying power for your buyers.
Right.
While the mortgage lender, like myself, is not responsible for billing that to the client,
Right.
it is a calculation that does play into their buying power. So when we're looking at the debt ratios that are involved for your client to buy the property, we also do have to take that in consideration because it is
How
an
expensive are
expense.
those HOAs?
Yeah, so right. I mean, if you wanted to
usually have-
if you wanted to pay like $1,200 a month in your mortgage, you got to take into account the HOA, whatever
Right.
that could be a month. Some could be $60 a month, $40 a month. Some could be $300, $400 a month.
You're absolutely right.
I
And I
mean,
mean, and not that that's a bad thing because usually you get more the more you pay.
True.
But you start looking at
But you have to
300.
be mindful of that.
It's something you definitely need to be mindful.
Yeah.
And,
So when your agent is out taking you, not to cut you off
Correct.
for just a second, but as your agent's taking you out to look at properties, you guys need to make sure that you are paying attention right there toward the bottom of the MLS sheet, it shows you what the HOA fees are a month or a quarter or annually. So you have to make sure you pay attention to what those HOA fees are, because if that's going to put you over what you want to spend on a monthly mortgage payment,
Correct.
there's no point in you looking at that house, right?
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest thing is when, like you said, when your agents are working with your buyers, please take the time to look at the HOA
Right.
and, you know, talk with your lender about that as well. So at least you're getting an informed pre-qualification, pre-approvals, so that you're not out wasting your time and, more importantly, your client's time
Exactly.
on what's going on.
And that's not your responsibility as a lender to find out what the HOA
Cubs.
fees are beforehand.
It's not
right?
necessarily our responsibility, but it is something that I'll speak for myself. Whenever I'm doing a pre-qualification or a pre-approval for a client, that's probably the second or third question I'll ask the
Good.
realtor is, are you looking in a community that carries an HOA? Because give me some ideas on what we're looking at, so I don't waste the client's time and I don't waste the realtor's time.
That's awesome.
So
Perfect.
that we're sending them out with an educated, you know, process in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And to just kind of bring that back to, that is a buyer's responsibility too, you know. And so
Right.
when you place that offer to purchase the house, you also attach an HOA addendum. And on that HOA addendum, the buyer is going to fill out the third page of that HOA addendum. And then that's where you as a buyer can negotiate who's going to cover what transfer fees or, you know, whatever. It'll have choices between buyer and
Right.
seller and what they're going to cover. So you want to make sure that you know ahead of time. This goes for your sellers as well. Pay attention to that HOA addendum, because in some cases there can be more than one HOA. There could be 2 or 3 HOAs, and that can cost you thousands of dollars at the closing table if you don't pay attention to that HOA addendum.
Right.
So read it closely. There are certain fees that the seller has to cover. There are capital improvement fees, there are transfer fees, there are other fees involved.
Sometimes both parties have to pay those
Sometimes
transfer
both-
fees too.
Yeah, so I mean, just pay attention. The transfer fees are negotiable, but there are like, I think the capital improvement fees I think are also negotiable, but then there's other fees that are responsible for the seller to pay. So you guys just pay attention to what that is, because I've had cases where, you know, clients are surprised at the closing table, and nobody likes that. Nobody likes to be, unless it's in their favor. Yeah.
Then everybody wants a
It's
party.
like, yay, I just got $2,000, you know.
Right.
Woohoo! But nobody likes to be surprised when they find out that they have to pay an additional $2,000 or whatever, right? So, what did you want to? You wanted to cover a little bit more on that, as far as what did you want to cover on that? I lost my train of thought.
All the negatives
Yes.
with HOAs.
Yeah, because we also have a lot of clients, buyers that don't want HOA.
Right,
And
they don't.
it's a challenge, because they don't want an HOA, but they want to live close in town.
Right.
But most of these communities have HOAs,
Mhm.
unless it's an older, which a lot of those just are hard to find
Right.
nowadays. Older communities that don't have HOAs.
Especially if you have RVs, if you travel a lot, you know, some of these won't let you have those parked there. So,
Right.
so that kind of deters some groups of people.
Right.
Another thing was, I had a client and they were in an HOA and they have kids, and their kids like to play in the street
Right.
or have the basketball hoop
Exactly. That's what
out
they're
there
gonna
and
see.
stuff like that, and they got in trouble or they got fined for it, or they got fined for the parking on the street overnight because the babysitter stayed.
Yeah.
You know, so those are like the little minor things that sometimes just really bug people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another issue is, what if the other people aren't paying their HOA fees?
Yeah.
What happens with the whole HOA system that's not getting the money that they were supposed to get
Yeah.
for all this time, especially when we hit that big recession in the foreclosure market?
Right.
What happened to those homeowners that were living there? They were getting hit with another association fee,
Yeah.
like a master
Exactly.
fee, which, you know, who wants that? Especially, you know, if you have kids and other expenses. Nobody has a couple grand to just fork over because somebody else didn't pay their share.
Exactly, and to
You know?
piggyback off on that, I've had sellers, and I think every agent at some point in time is going to have a seller or two, that they find out has never paid their HOA dues. So they've either never paid them, or they've almost won. Okay, how many minutes till one?
5.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll wrap this up in a minute. Or they haven't paid it for years, so then they find out the closing table, they owe thousands and thousands of dollars in HOA fees that they never paid.
Right.
So you guys, there's no escaping paying HOA fees.
Yeah.
It's like the IRS.
Yeah, you-
They're going to get you.
They
You're
will
either-
definitely go
yeah.
find that lien on your property.
Yeah,
No,
they will
no
file
doubt.
a lien on your property for sure, or they're going to collect that at the closing table.
Yeah, you can't
Either
get
way,
away.
so either you're going to pay them now, or you're going to pay them later, plus
All the fees.
Interest and penalties,
Right.
you gotta love it.
Yeah. So you guys keep that in mind as well, you know, so.
There's good and there's bad. It's just really the lifestyle that you want to carry on with yourself.
Exactly. The
It's
lifestyle
really
and the personal
press-
preference on
Pre-
what you want
personal
for your,
preference.
Yeah.
your next purchase. When
Exactly.
you buy that next home, what do you want in that next home?
Exactly.
Right.
So if you're
those are
curious to know, you're getting ready to buy a house, you love the house, you love the neighborhood, you want to know more about the HOA, talk to your agent, you know, get a copy
Yeah.
of the CC&Rs, find out exactly what they require. If you do have an RV, or you do want to put in a swimming pool, or you want to plant really tall trees, or you want to put in a basketball court or whatever, that's where you're going to find out that information. So talk to your agent about it. They're not going to have that information on the MLS.
And the responsibility of who gets you those CCNRs,
Yeah.
it all depends on the size of the association too, the HOA. So if there's less than 50 units in that association, then it's upon the seller's responsibility to provide those documents to you.
There you go.
But if it's 50 or more, it's really the association that you're in contact,
Right.
and they'll get you those CCNRs
Right.
to the buyer who you are,
Right.
getting the property. So
Awesome.
those are just little kinky things.
To think about, yeah. So with that being said, I have to actually go do an HOA addendum right now.
Okay.
And
I gotta get back to class.
you need to get back to broker class. He's going to broker school. He's going to be a broker.
Yes.
Ruh-roh.
Bam!
I'm gonna be broker.
broker that he is now.
Broker that he is now.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
So-
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
guys.
You guys
Thank
have any
you
questions?
so much.
Thank you.
What's your contact info if anyone wants to reach out
If
to you?
anybody needs to talk to me regarding mortgage financing, purchases, pre-quals, approvals, my direct number is 480-234-9860.
Yay.
Thanks,
And
guys.
you can
Appreciate
just
it.
Put that in the comments after we post that.
We will
Awesome.
definitely do that.
All right,
Go
guys.
Cubbies!
Woohoo!
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, guys. Peace out. Mwah.
Bye.
Love you. Bye. Comment below if you guys have any questions at all. All right.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.